I was thinking perhaps that tonight, maybe you managed to slip quietly into your seat, almost unnoticed, making yourself small, and that all of this feels a little unnerving. Maybe you're asking yourself, like the shepherds and the magi have done, what will I find here tonight? What will I find as I come not just with my grief, but with my love? I wondered what I wanted to say to you this evening, to us. And I think two things came to mind. Firstly, I want to say I think there is something brave in choosing to come to this service tonight. To acknowledge that sometimes it feels as though the rest of the world is bustling on regardless, whilst our world has frozen or exploded or falling apart. Tonight, however, all of us gather with people we mourn and remember on our hearts. And we sit together with others who understand and remember too. As we are gathered here, we have found and created a good space where we can hold and acknowledge our grief and our memories together, with others and with God. Which leads me to my second thought. Tonight, grief does not isolate us. We are not alone in our grief. We are with others and we are with God. Tonight, everyone here gets it. And that is something beautiful. Beautiful because whether our grief feels like a fading scar, or it's a wound so raw that we wince with shock at each tiny reminder of our loved one's absence, it is our love that causes this grief, and love, however sharp, is beautiful. We are brave and we are beautiful in our vulnerability tonight as we press the pause button on the frantic razzmatazz of Christmas, which only ever seems supposed to be happy, and acknowledge with one another that for us it's not just happy. For us also, there's sorrow and anger and hurt and a yearning for peace and hope. We're told that Christmas is all about family and it has a new life at the heart of it, but we are missing someone from our family. And death has punched a hole in our hearts. And yet, here we are, still looking for hope, still needing peace. And so I also wanted to think about what God might want to say to us this evening. And here in the readings we have heard, we might help us in our search for hope and peace. I think there's something really beautiful in the words from Isaiah's prophecy that John read to us, something written centuries before Christ was born. Isaiah says that it's the people who are walking in darkness to whom good news will come. And my goodness, what is darker than loss and grief? We who walk in that darkness, who stumble around in our loss, it is for us that Christ comes into the world. That Christ comes with shining light and life. Light and life, which John's Gospel reminds us, will never be extinguished. Light and life that death cannot overtake. I believe that Christ's light is shining in our darkness tonight, through us and among us, because there's no hiding why we have gathered. We see one another clearly in a shared experience of grief, even as we catch someone else's eye and recognize, yes, I see and understand that bitter mix of pain and loss and anger, just like you do. It's a clear and honest light that shines. It shows us we are not alone. We do not need to hide our grief. or protect others from it. And surely honesty and freedom to feel as we feel can only be good news. How beautiful. And I believe that Christ's life that comes in the way we pull one another forward through this bitter time, because we see in one another also how even in the midst of the darkest grief, there are sparks of joy and thankfulness and amazement and celebration that do not go away. Death has still not taken over life. Memories can still be happy. Friends still can make us giggle. Mulled wine and mince pies will still be a treat. I find comfort and courage in the words of the angels to the shepherds, not to be afraid. Not to be afraid, because what is coming into this world at Christmas to bring us out of our darkness is not scary or doom-laden or hard to understand. It is none other than pure and beautiful love. Love that is the origin of all our love. Love that's so pure and so beautiful it stops the Magi in their tracks and brings them overwhelmed to their knees. Love so pure and beautiful that it takes the tender, vulnerable form of a newborn child. All of us here have experienced a spark of pure and beautiful love. It's why we came here tonight, because love does not die. What a brave and beautiful God we have to slip quietly into our uncertain world, almost unnoticed, making himself small and bringing so much light and life and love. I say almost unnoticed because however each of you feels about Jesus or religion or church, I would defy any of us here not to be conscious that tonight, together in this sacred space, there is love and light and life. As we each remember how much every precious life matters, of how much connects us, unites us, supports us, and pulls us forward, of how we are caught up together and connected to stories that are bigger and older than just our own. Family stories, village stories, Christmas stories, God's story that points us towards light and life and overcomes darkness and the power of death. Stories that remind us that we are enveloped in love, just as Mary swaddled her tiny son that first Christmas. Vulnerable, brave, and beautiful fellow travellers through death's shadowy valley, as we receive and offer comfort to one another here, I believe that God slips into our hearts tonight, making himself small, but bringing so much light and love. Perhaps this is a moment to let that God who comes to you similarly vulnerable, brave and beautiful, full of love in the Christmas child, take whatever weight grief has placed upon you and fill you with his light, his love, his hope, and his peace. Amen.